Hello again and welcome to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Today we'll be talking about basketball, soccer, officials, and we'll talk about the bike club and how physical education is being transmitted across the district. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Our first guest today is Rick McDowell, Supervisor of Officials. He assigns our officials for the Green Country Conference, and we're certainly glad, Rick, that you're here to talk a little bit about soccer. We're getting ready to get started, hopefully, a season. Last year we started, and after 2 weeks we were finished. So how do you think that, Rick, affected overall soccer in Oklahoma?
Well, pulling the plug early left a lot of seniors on the limb. They weren't able to complete their seasons and get to compete for the state cup, and it was really tough for them, especially now they didn't get the closure and it's off to college. So
exactly, and I talked to Connor Whitham on the show. We will today, but in our previous conversation, he told me that he had 9 seniors that had an opportunity that went away for them because they needed to play their season. And I think that was the worst thing that I looked at from our standpoint, is that we had all those kids and all those spring sports, golf, and tennis, and track, cross country, and baseball and soccer, that didn't have an opportunity to participate. Well, how did you get into soccer officiating?
It started about 30 years ago. The club, which was Central Tulsa, was placed right down the street from where the studio is here at West Bank. My daughter was under 8, and they said they wouldn't furnish referees unless we had a parent volunteer. And their first choice declined, so I stepped up and been at it for 30 years since.
It's been a lot of changes in soccer.
Yeah, they had kind of at the FIFA level, they had real trauma there with the corruption, and so completely did away with a lot of the leaders, and a new leadership group took over to try and right the ship.
What do you think about the overall level of talent in soccer in Oklahoma?
I think it's pretty good. We have several leagues that have gone national now, and we're able to hold our own against the North and the South Texas teams. So there's certain coaches that have gotten out of high school and gone full-time to what they call ECNL to devote playing year-round soccer.
I see. One of the things that I keep hearing from the Activities Association is in a lot of sports we have a shortage of officials. Is there a shortage in soccer officials? I
would say yes. There is, and there will be, because the college shifted to playing in the spring season now. So that's going to be tough on the assigners to try and cover 3 officials on every game.
Boy, no kidding. Yeah, with all the colleges going at the same time.
Mm-hmm. That's the first time that's happened.
I was going to say, when did they do that?
Some played part of their season in the fall, and then they just ended up deciding to go ahead and shift it on to the spring.
When I was in the university business, we played the fall, and you could play up to 5 matches in the spring. That really didn't count,
right.
But you could play 5 matches as an off-season type program. I think we're going to see a lot of changes. I know I have a grandson that plays football at Fort Hays State, and they've got 3 games scheduled in the spring because they didn't play any in the fall. Division II did away with that. I think we're going to see a lot of those changes.
Yes.
So as we get into this season, what types of protocols are the officials going to have that hopefully will make it safe for the student athletes to participate?
Well, one of the things that we have some leagues that go year round now, and what we opted to do there was forego the coin toss. So we don't have the handshaking and the convening at the center circle to launch the games. We usually will introduce ourselves to the coaches. I had one that extended the foot to touch rather than the elbow or the fist bump. So I think that's one of the changes. And then our indoor leagues, you know, a lot of them have referees that pulled off of those because of the indoor environment. But the outdoor is still going strong. You still see parents along the sidelines in their lawn chairs, shoulder to shoulder. Some are wearing masks, some aren't. But
Do the officials wear masks?
I did work a tournament where some did. And I heard Under Armour makes a mask now for the athletic, so we may have to look into that. So we're not opposed to wearing them. But
one of the things that we heard early on was the electronic whistle. And they were having some trouble with it being loud enough and being on point enough to get the play stopped.
And I've seen the ads for that, for the handheld whistles. But you know, I'm one of those, like I go to get a drink at the convenience store and I go to put the straw and I hit the mask.
Yeah.
So I think I probably won't wear a mask as an official just for that.
I told my wife yesterday I had to stop by Sam's to get some medication, and I was in a hurry. And I got out and I got halfway down to the pharmacy and realized I was the only person in there that didn't have one on.
And they didn't say anything when you walked in the door.
Didn't say a word to me. But well, Rick, thank you for being here today.
Okay, appreciate it.
I'm glad you took some time out, and we'll probably want to have you back before we get to the playoffs.
All right, thank you, Gil.
All right. We'll be right back with Connor Whitham, the head soccer coach at East Central.
Which one of these items can be recycled in the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart? Mini blinds, hanger, plastic bottle. The correct answer is plastic bottle. Plastic bottles and jugs are great for the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart. But mini blinds and hangers should be thrown away in the gray trash cart. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hale's means that you have to be consistent, outgoing, and be dedicated because students at Nathan Hale look up to the football team.
Being an athlete at Nathan Hale has taught me to be confident and disciplined and always to be open-minded and always ready to work with people no matter how difficult it is.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics, and we are going to continue with some soccer now with Connor Whitham, the head boys soccer coach at East Central High School. Welcome to the show, Connor.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I tell you what, as we talk to all of our coaches, this has been quite an experience to go through this. You know, you were just telling me, you know, you missed last season, which you had probably one of the best teams that you've had since you've been there, and you had no season, maybe 2 games. At the most, and this year I think we feel pretty good about we have things in place that if we can keep our kids out of quarantine and eligible, we're going to be able to have a season. So how have you transcended through this COVID period?
So it's been really tough. Speaking to other soccer coaches in the district and in the state, it's kind of the same thing, keeping our kids eligible, because online schooling is difficult for them, just like it is for us teachers to teach it. And then really getting students to practices and engaged in the team. A lot of them have responsibilities at home. Maybe parents have lost jobs, and so the students are having to pick up jobs to help with the parents, or maybe they're raising brother and sister and helping them with that stuff. So getting kids to practice and stuff is a challenge. One that we're working hard to try to find the best solution, but it's probably going to be something we have to deal with the whole season and try to mix and match players and just do the best we can with the resources we got.
I think you mentioned one thing before we went on the air here, that it's difficult if you've got one computer in the family and 4 or 5 kids that are in virtual education as to when do I get my turn with the computer. You know?
And especially with the older kids, they usually take a back seat to their younger brothers and sisters, and their parents tell them, hey, make sure that your siblings get their work done. And so I talked to one of my kids, and he looked at me and said, well, Coach, when do you expect me to do my work? And he was like, I have to sleep and I have to wake up and help my brothers and sisters. And so I can't fault him.
No.
for maybe struggling on his work a little bit, I can try to have grace and explain the situation to his teachers and do the best I can on my side. And I think as educators, we have to be flexible with our students because this is new and our kids have never learned online before. And so we've got to have a lot of flexibility with them because for a lot of our kids, sports and being eligible for sport is the one reason that they come to school and attend it all. So we should do everything in our power to make sure that they have the ability to participate.
Well, I hand it to our coaches and athletic directors out in the schools because they've done, I think, a really good job of being probably the only normal thing in that student athlete's life is to come to practice and ultimately be able to get to a soccer match. So hopefully we can continue that through the season and not have what we had last year, when we just really did away with the spring season after spring break. So how does it look for you this year? You lost all those seniors and it's a rebuilding year?
Yeah, I mean, in this time, I think it was always going to be a difficult season and a difficult thing to do, but I have some really talented young guys. I have a kid, he's a sophomore, came from Honduras last year. It was his first year here in America, and so he's learned English, which is awesome. That's something that we're proud of is that he's learning English. But I mean, this kid has the ability to do whatever he wants. Maybe the most technically gifted player that we've ever had. And he's tall, which we don't get very many of those in our team. And then we have another kid, he's a junior. He's going to be the leader of our team this year. And he plays on a national champion club team. And so those two guys, as long as they stay eligible, and we'll be able to piece enough things around them to do that. But we're going to be really young, but this will be a good building, some adversity that will help us moving forward. It might be hard this year, but moving forward, it'll really help us.
So you're going to be pretty young?
Yeah, we'll be pretty young. I'm going to have a few seniors that start, but for the most part, we're going to be sophomores and juniors. And so we'll be able to hopefully springboard, and we'll still have a chance to go far in the playoffs like we have the last about 10 years at East Central. But we'll be young, and we'll probably take some licks, but we'll learn and hopefully get a chance to get into the playoffs and do something.
Do you find it's easier in your sport, because there is a tradition of winning, to get through something like a pandemic?
I think it's the expectations are so high, especially from myself, having in my 4 years, and granted last year doesn't really count, but been to 2 state championship games, and then the last year that we lost in the playoffs was to the eventual state champion. So my expectations are high. So anything less than semifinals for me is almost a bust. But for our kids, they kind of know that, and I try to take the pressure off of them and just let them go play. So I'm not going to set those expectations for them this year. We're going to go and play, and we're going to put out the best 11 players that we can, and have the best bench that we can, and kind of see where the chips fall. I think we have a really good chance if we can get eligible and get some chemistry at practice to go far. But that's going to come down to me and my assistant coach doing the best job we can through these kind of circumstances.
And do it virtually.
Well,
Connor, thank you for coming today, and good luck in this season. And when we come back, we'll have somebody from your district, Nikki West, the head boys coach at Memorial High School.
Which one of these items can be recycled in the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart? Glass bottle, string lights, ceramic mug. The correct answer is glass bottle. Glass bottles and jars are perfect for the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart. But string lights and ceramic mugs should be donated or thrown away in the gray trash cart. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Booker T. Washington has taught me to carry myself with class as an athlete, student, and friend, and to have responsibility on and off the field.
Being an athlete at Memorial High School has taught me to be a better person, because when you play sports, attitude is the main thing you have to deal with. Not just your own, but other people's. It also teaches you to be the bigger person.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Now we have the head boys soccer coach at Memorial High School, Nikki West. Nikki, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Interesting. We had the head girls coach on our last show, and that was Mark Dover. Interesting role changes.
Yes.
How is that working?
Oh, it's great. I really enjoy being with the boys. When I came to Memorial, I joined on the boys' side. So I've never really been with the girls except for at Booker T before that. But I've really enjoyed the transition and the challenge of being with boys. It's a lot of fun.
As you move into this pandemic season, obviously it's better than the last season that was canceled.
Yes.
After 2 weeks. I think we've made provisions, and I think our coaches have done a wonderful job of preparing their student athletes and their programs to make it through the pandemic. And we certainly are hopeful that we continue on. I feel really good about what we've been able to accomplish so far. We've been through the entire fall season and half of the winter season. So we're on our way at this point. But from a coaching standpoint, what are some of the challenges that you've had to face with the pandemic and the students not being in-person instruction?
Right. So obviously a lot. And it's not all been bad, but there's definitely challenges. I think grades are a big one. I think teenagers naturally, especially boys, might lack some motivation to get logged on and do their work. And so it's staying on them and trying to get them, eligible, even though we're not necessarily in season yet, but just keeping track of them grade-wise. We've been in quarantine once, and so that was tough. But also a really good reminder coming out of it, just like, hey, take the extra time to wash your hands even more and keep your distance and, stuff like that. So yeah, just I think the normal, what everybody else is facing, just taking it day by day and really appreciating every practice and every opportunity we get to be together.
I think it's interesting listening last night to Nick Saban after the national championship game, and he kept extolling on the aspect of how his team stuck together through that entire season, and they really had no COVID problems throughout the year, like other teams had massive.
Right.
Ohio State 13 didn't suit up last night, and I think that quarantine that you mentioned does make a difference sometimes when they see that we can shut this down and
Right.
I can't play at all. As you get into that, academically, I understand it is an issue. I think what I hate to see and not see is our coaches in the hallways talking to their student athletes. How are you doing in English? How are you doing in math?
Right.
You don't have that. I do feel good about us being able to provide some element of normal operation with practice and
Right.
ultimately games and everything. So how are you going to be this year? How's your team?
I think that's day to day too. I mean, I think it just depends on the amount of kids that we have out. I really like this group. They are, like I mentioned earlier, they're just very grateful to have the opportunity to be together each and every day. And so every practice, they're really progressing and they take nothing for granted. And because of that, because of just having to focus, because we don't know what the next day brings, they've really progressed quite well. And I mean, they're doing great in the classroom. So I know the group that I have will make it through the season, and they're just there for each other, and it's fun. Every day is fun. So I don't know how we'll be. It's tough to judge because we had such a small season last year, and we've had so much practice for so few games, just as far as like the last 2 years have gone. And so I don't know. They're excited. I'm really excited. I think the sky's the limit. I think that every game we'll learn a lot about ourselves and keep
When's
going.
your first scrimmage?
February 16th against Holland Hall, who's very good. So we'll get a good test right off the bat.
Good.
Yes.
And then will you have isn't there a green and white that has this and had that? Are you in that?
We're not in that. We're going
Okay.
to the Sepulpa tournament after spring break.
Okay, after spring break.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that'll be fun because the boys didn't get to experience
Yeah.
that last year. So
Well, that's
it'll
good.
be good. Yes.
And who in your district you think are the ones you've got to beat?
Well, we have a very difficult district. We have Edison and Bishop Kelly, who are, along with East Central, always the top three on the east side of the state. But then there's a lot of teams that have been in school and have had a pretty normal year that are going to be tough to beat as well. But I think everybody's beatable, and everybody, like, we can beat anybody and we can lose to anybody. It's just a matter of the day.
Week to week.
Yep, week to week.
Week to week,
Exactly.
right.
That's the theme.
Well, we certainly are glad that you're here today, and thank you for being on the show. We'll have you back when we get into soccer season.
That sounds
and
great.
Get a couple of matches underneath your belt and so on. And when we come back, we're going to have David Winton, who is the head boys basketball coach at Will Rogers High School.
Which one of these items can be recycled in the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart? Plastic bottle, cooler, laundry basket. The correct answer is plastic bottle. Plastic bottles and jugs are perfect for the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart. But coolers and laundry baskets should be thrown away in the gray trash cart. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You know you can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, you know your team will always be there for you.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Today we have with us the head boys basketball coach at Will Rogers High School, David Winton. David,
Hey.
welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be
Well, this has been obviously, we've talked to every coach we've talked to. This has been an interesting year. It certainly has been a trial just to get the kids on the court and to play games, much less play a season. But we're half done, and we made it through football. Everybody thought we wouldn't finish football, but we did in the fall sports. And so now we're in basketball, wrestling, and swimming, and we're over half done. So, but boy, after a rough start, you won 6 in a row, and then played in the finals of the Henrietta tournament over the weekend. So let's talk about your basketball team a little bit.
You bet. Let's start off with football. With the uncertainty of COVID, we weren't 100% for sure if there was going to be a season or not. So, we encouraged those basketball kids that normally stay in the gym with us during preseason, go play some football.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're very good athletes. They could only help with the football program. And so with COVID, they extended that football season a week. And, I got them back. We immediately go to a scrimmage. I think we got 3 practices in, right? And then we had to go against Bishop Kelly. I mean, just a phenomenal team. And, yeah, it was a little rough at the beginning. Had a little difficulty about the ball going in the hole. But, we talked with the kids. They go, hey, listen, you're going to have to give yourself a little bit of time. Probably around Christmas, the ball is going to start going in for you and everything's going to turn out. And it has. I mean, the kids put in a tremendous effort. They're doing, what we need them to do. And, like I said, very, very proud of what we got done so far.
Well, winning 6 in a row anytime is a great accomplishment these days because there's so much parity in the program. Everybody's got a player, and that player goes off on a night and gets 30. Yeah. Those are things it's hard to sometimes to coach against. But who are your leading players? Who are the guys who have really stepped up for you?
Well, our cornerstone are our 2 Markels. We have Markel Johnson. I mean, he's had a large part of just providing that consistent success at Rogers. And then the other one is Markel Sutton. We were fortunate. He grew about 11 inches since he's been a 9th grader. So that's helped out tremendously. And he's playing above the rim right now. So if you get a chance to watch him, I know in this situation it's kind of hard to watch the kids, but he's fun to watch live, especially both of those seniors. But yeah, those are our cornerstones. And then I have 2 phenomenal athletes as juniors. We have Devontae Pruitt. He's about 5'9", 5'10". He plays above the rim. It's just incredible. We have another junior, Terrence Thomas, that's been with us for a couple of years, and just a tremendous athlete, handles the ball, makes a lot of decisions for us. We have a young man that came in, Antoine Johnson. This guy has just a ridiculous vertical leap. We haven't measured it yet, but it's got to be close to 40. It's just incredible to watch these guys practice and to play that athletic every day. But that's who we have right now. And then we have some very talented sophomores that are just getting better and better the more playing time that they get.
Well, that's good. It's unfortunate. I know we had discussions last week about your tournament, and you had a great tournament put together. But given the COVID and the lack of attendance, it makes it financially not feasible.
No,
for us. So you'll miss that. What have you done to make up those games?
Well, we rescheduled the Central game for that Saturday, and then Northwest Classen is going to come in. So there again, a phenomenal program that's well coached, and it's just going to be an exciting game. We can't wait to see them.
Well, I think it's good. I think with flexibility, I told our athletic directors back in August that the word for the year was flexibility.
Yes, sir.
You got to be flexible with your schedule, with your practice times, and everything, because as I end my staff meeting every Monday morning, I said, well, this is another definite maybe week. Maybe we'll do this and maybe we won't. What has that done with you and your team academically? Has that caused you any concern not having in-person instruction?
Yeah, 100%. Now, as a classroom teacher, I need those kids in class. So I have about 25 years in now, and I've kind of developed my style of teaching, and that's in person. This distance learning, I'm a first-year teacher, really. I'm
Right.
learning as I go in. I'm trying to incorporate what I've done in the past, but there's a lot of questions that I have. I ask a lot of questions, like a first-year teacher, I promise you. But we are getting better, and we're starting to get a routine going, so I think that helps just a little bit.
Well, it is, and it's difficult not to see those kids every day and ask how they're doing in class.
Exactly.
You see them at practice, and that's one of the things that I really take my hat off to our coaching staff, our athletic directors out in the schools. We've provided really the only normal thing in these kids' lives. By having a routine practice
Right.
and having games, the rest of it is so new to them, it's very difficult for them to adjust.
Exactly.
Well, I tell you what, David, I'm certainly glad you're here today, and we need to get back on one of those 6-game winning streaks as we get into the end of the season. So we'll have you back hopefully before regional time. Okay?
We're going to get it started tonight. We got Hale and Edison this week. We've got to play well, though.
That two good programs. When we come back, we'll have Daniel McChesney, the head coach at Hale, to see what he thinks about Rogers.
Which one of these items can be recycled in the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart? Air filter, cardboard box, toy car. The correct answer is cardboard box. Paper and cardboard are perfect for the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart. But air filters and toys should be thrown away in the gray trash cart. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Athletics is so important at Tulsa Central because it's an outlet for some of our kids there. They get a better opportunity to basically give back to our community.
At McLean, the sports is what mainly drives a bunch of the students to come to school every single day and work hard because they want to be able to come from the classroom to the field or the court and show at what they're good at.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Now we have Daniel McChesney, the head boys basketball coach at Nathan Hale High School. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Well,
it.
it's one of those years, we're talking to the coaches about how you make it through a pandemic year. How has it been for Nathan Hale boys basketball?
Well, I assume our situation is pretty similar to everybody else. We're doing our best, and every day is new. You have to really manage how you define success in a year like this. We define success in playing games. I mean, just the ability to have a season this year and keeping our guys in the gym as much as possible, keeping our guys together. So anytime we can do what we can to keep everybody safe just to make sure we have a season, we're going to do it. But every day is different. Every day brings out a new challenge for sure.
It certainly does. I would have thought that we would have never made it through the fall season of those sports. And now we're halfway through the winter season. So it looks like we're going to make it
Yeah,
to the
we're
playoffs.
hopeful. We're hopeful.
And I think we've learned how to manage a pandemic to make it as safe as possible. But we also, I think, have realized how important it is for our student athletes to be able to continue to participate.
Absolutely.
And not be shut down. I think shutting down last spring was one of those situations where we didn't have enough knowledge of what our problem was and how to manage that problem. And I think we do now, knowing that there are cases out there, but we are managing it. Well, what effects that had on your basketball team?
Well, like you said, I think the ability to watch the fall sports and kind of how they operated gave us a little bit of a heads up and how we could manage our day-to-day operations, what we could do to keep our guys safe, what kind of tracing we needed to do. So it definitely affected our numbers. Holding tryouts with freshmen was increasingly difficult this year, which affected our overall freshman numbers. It also affected our families' input with the team, because we found that in the past, you speak and communicate with families often, but this year the communication is different. You have to constantly communicate, safety measures, requirements with parents, expectations. Also, you have to ease some of their concerns about what might be happening day to day in the gym, how you're keeping their student safe, how you're keeping their child safe, because parents really care about that. They don't want to just send their kids blindly to somebody that they don't trust. So you really have to build those avenues of trust with parents in order to just have a good practice day to day.
I think that's an important point, Coach, because we do want to keep our kids safe, and we've put a lot of protocols in place. I think for the health and safety of our students, and you hope that the people that we play outside the district are doing the same thing.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you wonder,
absolutely,
because we know we're maybe a little over the top, but to me, the best thing that two people ever do is produce a child. And we need to take care of that child when they send those children to us. And so I think it's really important. Well, you're halfway through the season. How do you feel about your ball club now?
We're at a good spot right now. If you look at our win and loss record, we're not where we wanted to be. But we feel like we're at a good spot right now. We have some momentum coming out of the Locust Grove tournament. We had some good games. And we look at our schedule and still see the meat of our schedule in front of us, the majority of our schedule in front of us. And the good thing about basketball is everybody's going to get a shot in the playoffs. And we preach that day in, day out with our guys, that it's not where you start, it's where you finish any given season, and you're going to make it to the playoffs. So we really need to be peaking at the right time in mid-February, not in early January. So we need to get on a roll, and we know that, and we preach that, but we feel really good about where we are, where our team is, where our mental capacity is right now, and looking forward to what we have in front of us.
What do you got coming up this week?
We have Will Rogers tonight. We host Will Rogers, and then we host East Central on Friday. So great TPS competitive games. Both should be fun, energetic. Even though there's no fans in the stands or limited fans, parents in the stands, both should still be good atmospheres, because anytime you get good TPS teams together, then it's going to be a good game, good atmosphere for athletics.
It seems like every Tuesday and Friday is a battle in the Green Country.
It is.
It really is. Who's some of your players that have stood out so for you this year?
It's been an interesting year because our expectations going into the year have changed, not with the pandemic, but kind of in the makeup of our team. Our leadership has really come from our seniors this year. And even on a scouting report, they may not stand out as the most talented guys we have, but on a day-to-day basis, they produce. Our seniors, James Lane, who is a guard for us, and Xavion Love, they're been really important keeping our guys eligible academically, communicating the importance of grades during a time where everybody's distance learning. They've been really important vocally communicating practice plans and getting our guys energized in practice. And then both have performed really, really well. We also have a good young group. Our freshman, Cabron Lewis, has really stepped into a role as a starter that was difficult for him at the start. You come into a team during a pandemic where you're not around guys all day building relationships, and you have this starting role thrust upon you. And he's really taken that in stride.
Especially when
one of
you're
the
a youngster like that.
Exactly. He's building relationships with guys on the fly. He doesn't get to build those in the classroom this year like a lot of them get to. So those three have really been building blocks. And then we obviously have some other talented players like Demetrius Neal and Caleb McKinney, who on any given night can go for 20, 30 points. So
all right.
We have the pieces. We just need to put it together.
Put it together. Well, good luck this week.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
When we come back, we will have Shane Kiem, the athletic director at Nathan Hale High School.
Which one of these items can be recycled in the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart? Mini blinds, hanger, plastic bottle. The correct answer is plastic bottle. Plastic bottles and jugs are great for the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart. But mini blinds and hangers should be thrown away in the gray trash cart. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
I love Will Rogers Athletics because it helped me physically, spiritually, and emotionally through all the journeys I've been through at that school. All of the support staff helped me a lot, and it's just an amazing school.
Athletics at Will Rogers changed my life because it became a second family. With the support of my coaches and teammates, it's helped me gain confidence, work as a team, and will help me in college and in life.
Welcome back, and now we have Shane Kiem, the athletic director at Nathan Hale High School, and we want to talk to Shane about how difficult it is to have pandemic athletics.
It is different. Difficult is only what you make it, and it's one of those things where it's different. We've got struggles that we have to go through every year, and this is just a different set of struggles. But we're managing it. It's a process, as we've talked about multiple times throughout this pandemic. Is really it's kind of a week-to-week thing, and we just have to manage what that week is throwing at us. But I think we're doing a good job. We've gotten further into the sports season than I think some folks thought we might.
What a bonus to finish the fall season.
Yeah.
And be halfway through the winter season now. When people didn't give us a chance to go 5 weeks during the fall season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, like I said, there were hiccups along the way. We've had games that we've had to move around. We've lost a couple in the fall season. I think really we were one of the first ones who kind of had to deal with how do you quarantine a team and then come back from that. And it was a struggle. It's again, like we've talked about throughout all of this. We're building the plane and learning to fly it as it's in the air.
Exactly.
And so that's what we're doing. And we're doing the best we can. It's been hard for us to not be with our kids as much as we were used to being with them. And that's where most of our efforts go to, is making sure those kids are okay and they've got what they need. And big emphasis on the academics this year. Really had to bring all of our coaches together and just kind of come up with a plan for how we're going to keep these kids on track, and it's working.
Yeah, it is. It is a challenge, and we all look at those management opportunities as things that we want to do. But so let's talk a little bit about your transition. Did you ever think about, when you were in the insurance business, that you'd be sitting here today in a pandemic athletic world?
Well, it was when I first got into coaching at Hale. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to my home, go to my school, and help kids and go back and give back. And when I dipped my toe into coaching, I loved it and it was great. And I kind of saw myself being there. That was where I'd hoped to be. And then when we met and I took on the athletic director job, it was again kind of learning to fly the plane as you're building it kind of thing. And it worked out. And I love that side of it. I really do. And the more I do it, the more I really learn to love the administrative side of the athletics, because it's my day-to-day stuff that keeps games going and keeps kids on the field.
Well, in our jobs, there's never an off season.
No, there's not. No time to get bored.
No, we're always on.
Yes.
And, I told people that the reason I became an athletic director 44 years ago was because they didn't know what ADD was. Right. I really had to have something to do.
Keep
and the
going.
off-season program wasn't enough.
Absolutely.
But so as you move through this, Shane, and you look at what long-term effect do you think this will have on athletics in the Tulsa area?
There's going to be some. There's no way around it. There's going to be some. We're hoping to mitigate that. Our participation numbers, I think, is where right now we're seeing the immediate effect.
Which is indigenous to the enrollment numbers.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're down, so they're down.
As our enrollment numbers go down, there's less athletes. Right. And, we've got our eye, as you know, as a long time ADs, you're not looking at the current season. You're always planning for the next season. And so we're looking at our spring sports season, and, we're worried about some of them. Our girls soccer, we're trying to find kids. And even baseball, which is a sport that sometimes we struggle with numbers with anyway, is one of those ones where it's you want the kids back, and we know what's best for them is participating, and so it's that's our long-term concern is our participation numbers, and we want to make sure that these kids stay on track to graduate. That's our number one goal.
Sure,
is they participate to graduate. That's what we're hoping happens. Right. And we don't want to lose that focus at all. I think in the long term, getting kids back in the building is going to be our best bet. I don't know when that's going to happen.
I don't think anybody does really.
They don't, and that's okay. But we're going to get them eventually, and when we do, we're going to have a lot of work to do.
I think the thing that people have to realize is that our first and foremost is the health and safety of each individual student,
absolutely,
each individual staff member.
Absolutely.
Where we've got to worry about 3,500 student athletes. I also have 350 coaches that I'm concerned about, and I want to keep them in a safe position. But appreciate everything you're doing out there. It's a tough job.
Well, thank you.
And we're going to get through this somehow or another.
I guarantee it.
When we come back, we'll have Mick Wilson, the Deputy Director of Athletics, to talk about how he's doing through the pandemic.
Which one of these items can be recycled in the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart? Plastic bottle, cooler, laundry basket. The correct answer is plastic bottle. Plastic bottles and jugs are perfect for the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart. But coolers and laundry baskets should be thrown away in the gray trash cart. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Booker T. Washington has taught me to carry myself with class as an athlete, student, and friend, and to have responsibility on and off the field.
Being an athlete at Memorial High School has taught me to be a better person, because when you play sports, attitude is the main thing you have to deal with. Not just your own, but other people's. It also teaches you to be the bigger person.
Welcome back to Inside Tulsa Athletics. Now we have the Deputy Director of Athletics for the Tulsa Public Schools, Mick Wilson. And Mick, as you know, we had to make a tough decision on a lot of things this year because of the pandemic. But one of them was moving the fall junior high season to February and March. How do you feel about that, and where do you think we're going to stand when we open up in March?
Well, it's real interesting, Gil, because I just, before I came on the set here, got an email from a parent wanting to know if that was actually accurate information that she was receiving from her student athlete, if there was actually going to be football in the spring. She couldn't believe it and thought that maybe he had his wires crossed. So I put together an email. She thought junior high basketball was still going on, and would they overlap with football? And so I let her know that actually her student athlete was correct, that football will be beginning here soon, and they have started practice and started those things, and that she is not, as Jerry Seinfeld calls it, in the bizarro world.
Right.
So
exactly.
No, it's going to take some adjustment, probably just in our mindset. But as far as safety precautions, those things, I think we tried to react and be proactive. Also, at the same time, to watch out for our student athletes. A lot of what we were dealing with early on was the not knowing.
Right.
And now I think through our education and through the great work of a lot of our healthcare providers, we know more than we did back when football was first beginning. So
I think that's a great point, Mick. I think that's the most important thing is what we didn't know at the time, and to protect our young kids. We'll be having volleyball, cross country. Of course, we'll have cheer for football because we do have 25% capacity. And the volleyball, I would assume that we will stay at parents only, as we did in the fall for the varsity volleyball. How do you feel about numbers and participation? You think we're going to be hurt with that?
Well, no, I really actually think that we were a little scared early on. Our numbers in the fall for football were actually down in junior high and middle school, and I think that was part of again the not knowing when school was going to begin, not knowing, being able to communicate with your student athletes, and having our coaches in place to be able to get that done. That was all on shaky ground, and I think now that we've kind of established a modus operandi, so to speak, and a schedule that we can work our way through, I think our numbers will be probably a little more consistent with what we've seen in the past when we're actually in school. So I think with a little patience and time, our coaches and athletic directors have been able to make some communication roads with those kids. So hopefully our numbers will be up. I know a couple of our schools that the numbers were low early on. When they've had numbers in the past that have been really good, we were concerned about. But hopefully those numbers will change and we'll get participation numbers up. It's just going to be, again, a mindset of volleyball in the spring, football in the spring, and then, soccer coming right after that. So, that's one thing that I've started working on now is getting that soccer schedule ready as soon as football and volleyball and those fall sports that are now in the spring are scheduled. We'll be looking at the true spring sports.
Just so people know, our basketball ended before the winter break, and practice could start for the fall spring sports on January 4th, and that would be for cross country, volleyball, and football. And those games will start the first weekend in February 6th, I think is the date. And we'll run those seasons right up until the Friday of spring break.
Correct.
And then when we come back from spring break is when we'll start with the boys and girls soccer, boys and girls track. And hopefully with school not getting out until June, we'll have enough time in good weather to be able to have those spring sports.
And Gil, that will be a big concern. You talk about having some good spring weather. We need to make sure, or we need to really have a contingency plan if we do have a lot of rainouts, because there's not really a lot of room to reschedule those sports. So that'll be a big concern. Let me jump back just for a second and rewind back to junior high and middle school basketball, and to be able to play the games we were able to play and get those in. I think our coaches and athletic directors and surely the students and their parents were pleased that we were able to play some games. We did have to cancel several, as you might imagine, but we did get through with a successful season. Probably the part that I didn't really like or didn't appreciate was that we weren't able to do our junior high tournament this year, our season ending tournament, which has historically been, it's well attended. Our crowds have been huge,
right.
And the kids get excited for that time of year, and so not being able to do that, this is the first class that's going to have missed the junior high city championships. So we look forward to getting that back on track for next year and back scheduled again.
Well, between that and the tournament of champions.
Yes, we've missed some good basketball this year, not only high school but junior high as well. But again, I was pleased with how our coaches and athletic directors responded to the situation this year by being able to play some junior high games.
Job. I've told everyone that's been on to get all the way through the fall season and be halfway through the winter season. A lot of people wouldn't have bet any money at all on that would have happened. So I really appreciate that. Well, Mick, thanks for being here. We'll have you back, I'm sure. And when we come back, we'll have Jen Sanders, assistant AD.
Which one of these items can be recycled in the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart? Glass bottle, string lights, ceramic mug. The correct answer is glass bottle. Glass bottles and jars are perfect for the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart. But string lights and ceramic mugs should be donated or thrown away in the gray trash cart. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
Being an athlete at Edison High School has taught me to work as a team rather than as an individual. Whenever you're on a team, you have a special bond with each other. You know you can rely on them in a time of need, whether on or off the court. Whether it be a shoulder to cry on or advice on how you can improve, you know your team will always be there for you.
Welcome back to our last segment. We saved the best for last. We have Assistant Athletic Director for Activities, Jen Sanders, and Jen has a awesome task with all the things that you do for us. But one of the biggest jobs you have is the physical education for all of our sites.
That's right. I have all of our PE teachers for secondary and elementary, about 100 folks, and our JROTC folks. So yeah, about 100 folks that I help supervise and offer support to.
How has that been through this pandemic and virtual education?
You know, I really have to hand it to our folks. You know, many of our PE teachers and our JROTC instructors, they were part of teams their whole entire life. So, you know, they learn to adapt and to work together and help each other out. And I'll say that, you know, I work with the best bunch of teachers that have really worked hard through this pandemic to offer physical education opportunities to our kids, to keep them active when we know a lot of kids are at home and, you know, in front of the screen. So they've done that through Zoom activities. They lead, you know, activities and dances and different fitness challenges that they've given their kiddos. So it's been fun. I will say that part has been fun, but it's also been very challenging for our folks. And as you know, many of our kids, sometimes that's the only reason why they show up. You know, they love their PE teacher, or their art teacher, their music teacher, absolutely. And you know, that's the highlight of their day or their week. And we've tried to really emphasize that that's still part of our kids' lives, and that we really want those kids to be active and to be able to move around and do some fun things. So we've had a great group of teachers that have really worked hard to do so.
I know that, you know, that we've always said that if teachers would teach as hard as coaches coach, we would have a problem in education. I think it speaks really true for our physical education instructors, because they truly like what they do. They're challenged every day by double sections and everything. You know, they got 40 or 50 kids in there, and they're by themselves. But I'm sure that they really miss the kiddos too, because of not being in person and being virtual. It's very difficult, I think.
Yeah, and I think, you know, we talked about that just recently at our professional learning session last Wednesday. Was, you know, the kids are what fill our cups up. You know, that's what, you know, that's the rewarding part, seeing those smiles on those faces. You know, kids that learn something new or finally achieve, you know, able to make a basket or do 10 push-ups or 20 push-ups. And, you know, our teachers are seeing that obviously on Zoom and things like that, but they're not getting that interaction that they normally get with the kiddos. And, you know, I think our PE teachers build awesome relationships with kids. You know, they're there for them when they struggle, you know, and maybe can't, you know, do an activity or haven't mastered that activity. And then they, you know, are there for them when they finally do. And it's just, you know, high fives all around. Wow. So not being able to see those kiddos in person has been difficult for our PE teachers. And I know they miss them, and I know they're so excited to get them back. And we look forward to that day. That really is because it is physical education, not virtual physical education. It's a difficult thing. Another program that I wonder how it has made it through is our bike club program. How is that working? You know, we've done some virtual bike clubs activities. It's been difficult. You know, I would love to say that every kid shows up every day, but after, you know, kiddos have been on Zoom all day or 3 or 4 hours a day, that's, you know, sometimes the last thing they want to do is hop on another Zoom. But something that has been successful is Skelly Elementary. They have a teacher's bike club. Oh. And so they meet every Tuesday and they go ride. And so we've got, I think today they had the most teachers, and it's like 17 teachers that are going to be riding after school. So as much as we know kids need to be active, like our adults need to be super active.
Absolutely.
Especially after, they're sitting in front of a Zoom camera
Right.
all day long and not moving around the classroom like they normally would. So that's been exciting. Jason Horton, Mike Wozniak, Adam Vandenberg, those guys, Tulsa doesn't deserve them. They are awesome, and they do everything they can. And like I said, this was just another aspect of, we're going to get some teachers out to ride bikes, and they've loved it.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about one of your other areas of responsibility. How has this affected our swim program?
Well, we've kind of gone from the large swim meets to only having meets with 2, 3, 4 teams, so that it decreases our exposure to our kiddos. And that's worked well, actually. It gives our kids an opportunity to still swim and compete, but also know that you're not in a 10, 12, 15 team meet. So that's been different. They've staggered their swim times and their swim practices. We ask the kids to come dressed. In the wintertime, that's a little chilly sometimes when you're leaving, obviously. Normally they're able to use the locker room, dry their hair, things like that. It's not really happening now. We ask the kids as soon as they finish swim practice that they go ahead and leave the building. So
I know we've had challenges too. One morning I got a phone call and said the water was too warm at Memorial and too cold at Booker T.
The water, if there's any sport that it has to be just perfect, it's swimming. If it's too warm, your kids are going to get winded and get hot, and they're not going to be able to practice like they should. And then if it's too cold, then you can't get in. So it's a challenge at times.
It is a challenge. Well, the last thing, how has the cheer program made it through this? I mean, we've had limited attendance in football and basketball.
In football, we were able to host all of our cheerleaders and pom squads on the sideline with masks, and that was, that's sometimes difficult for kids, but you know what? The kids made it through. They wore their masks the entire time while they were cheering. Same thing, in indoors, we've had to cut back. So we're only allowing 12 cheerleaders on the court, so that that offers spacing so that the kids can be socially distanced, and then also they're wearing masks as they're cheering in the games as well. So we are doing our best, and I would say that our kids have adapted, and the most part is they want to be there and they want to participate, and they're willing to do whatever it takes.
And we certainly want them to be there.
Correct.
They put all that time in.
Right.
Well, thank you for being here today, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Which one of these items can be recycled in the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart? Mini blinds, hanger, plastic bottle. The correct answer is plastic bottle. Plastic bottles and jugs are great for the city of Tulsa's blue recycling cart, but mini blinds and hangers should be thrown away in the gray trash cart. Learn more at tulsarecycles.com.
I love Will Rogers Athletics because it helped me physically, spiritually, and emotionally through all the journeys I've been through at that school. All of the support staff helped me a lot, and it's just an amazing school.
Athletics at Will Rogers changed my life because it became a second family. With the support of my coaches and teammates, it's helped me gain confidence, work as a team, and will help me in college and in life.
Well, I certainly hope you enjoyed the show today. We had a wide range from soccer to basketball to officials to physical education and bike club. Stay tuned, and you'll see us in 2 weeks.